Hey, what's up guys? Joe here coming at you today from Town Hall 8, and we're going to go ahead and do some planning on the Hurt Locker base done by Tutor a couple weeks ago. If you watched her video, or if you missed it, it'll be linked down in the description below, where I go in and assist with the construction of this base and attack it multiple times. And today we're going to go in and we're actually going to attack it, or plan the attack on the base, and why I used certain attack strategies that I did and what stood out to me as the reasons why I should use what I did. So let's go ahead and get right on into it and take a look at this base, and then we'll kind of decipher what I was seeing. First off, we're going to try to decide whether we're going to use air or ground. And the first key to a Town Hall 8 attack for myself personally is zooming all the way out when I'm scouting and making sure that I identify the builders' huts and see if there's anything in the corners of the base for time issues. That seems to be a common theme for Town Hall 8 bases and trickling into Town Hall 9, is adding structures in the corners of the bases to cause you to have time issues. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom in and take a look at the northeastern portion of this base. And first things first that we see when scouting is the clan castle up in this area, as well as the Barbarian King, and then clearly the trash ring on the northeastern portion of the base for funneling issues. In the north, we also have inside these compartments what looks to be multiple locations for bomb placements. So ground obviously doesn't look like the better option. And then as you scan down into the southeastern portion of the compartments, you see a lot of these breaks and walls in between the pathing of the defenses. So if you come in through this northern portion with a kill squad in order to take out the clan castle and the Barbarian King, well, then you find yourself bringing hog riders if you decide to roll with ground, and you're going to bring your hog riders into these locations that have clear broken entry points in the walls that house spring traps. And mainly that's what this base is designed to do, is to combat the hog rider or the two-phase attacks like the Go Vaho or the Go Hobo, so on and so forth. Is the defender wants you to come in through this northern portion and bring hogs in from the south, and what that will do is cause you to hit spring traps along the way as they hit the pathing to these defenses, and you're losing more and more hogs in order to not complete the cleanup portion of the raid. Which leads me into the air portion on doing what I've done multiple times on Town Hall 8 bases. Really your go-to attack for Town Hall 8 is a mass dragon attack. Possibly with some balloons in the clan castle for getting in on those air Ds, and also using possibly a zap quake. Everybody has their own preference on how they want to do it. You got the triangulated air defenses on this base, but you also have an air defense and an air sweeper in the same compartment. Now take note of the air sweeper that's actually facing south. Bringing dragons up through the south into this air sweeper is clearly not ideal. Plus you also have to fight the trash ring around the base and the actual funneling purposes, so dumping a pile of dragons and hoping that they go to the core is not ideal either. So I wanted to use a earthquake spell and 2 lightning spells in order to take out this air defense in the north. I'm not going to take out the air sweeper, but I want to come in on this base at an angle in order to path my balloons from the clan castle into these 2 air defenses in the south. Now let's go ahead and zoom this video back out, and we're going to go ahead and get live into the actual replay on how I addressed this air portion. This is the initial design of this base, and we also made a few changes along the way. So drop my earthquake spell and my 2 lightning spells to take out that northern air defense, and then I'm going to drop a couple of dragons over on these 2 builders' huts to make sure I get rid of those in the process before they actually sweep south. And then I let them work for a second, see where they path, and then I drop a couple more dragons to start working on the funneling process to take care of some of this trash ring and assist my dragons to actually go into the base like I want them to. That one dragon up in the north by the archer tower has lured the clan castle, so I end up having to drop dragons a lot sooner than I should have due to the fact that the clan castle dragon is a lot stronger than the level 3s that I'm operating with. So at this point I have to use my rage to actually speed those dragons up, since they've kind of gotten themselves into the base already, but they're starting to work their way into air defense range and start taking missiles from the air defenses. And that's where I get my clan castle balloons onto the map, with the hopes that they would take out a couple of these defenses and start pathing their way up into the air defense. However, I wasn't anticipating a Tesla down there in the south. However, the dragons actually kind of match up with the balloons pretty well, and the balloons get ahead of the dragons and pick up a couple of air bombs along the process. So they end up cleaning up a couple of air mines along their pathing, and allows my dragons to stay alive, or at least the one to stay alive longer than what it probably should have. So at this point I'm down to 3 dragons, and it clearly doesn't look very promising, but I held on to my Barbarian King until the end because I have really no use for him in an air raid other than for cleanup process on the trash ring, and also hopefully grabbing one of those builders huts in the corners of the base to hopefully save myself some time issues. At this point in the raid, there's no defenses left over for the dragons to even have issues with, so we actually worked it out pretty well in the sense of the balloons from the clan castle picking up the air mines and the dragons surviving the raid itself. It wasn't exactly ideal on the pathing of the balloons to do what I needed them to do, but the dragons was probably the best choice on initially looking at this base and deciding how to address it and how to attack it. So the dragons have 2 structures left. There's 3 dragons available and a couple of barbarians and the Barbarian King left, and we're about to wrap this up at 100%. Now Heather went in and actually made a couple of changes on the base following that attack, and so I came in and actually hit it again with dragons. And there's actually something that I want to point out to you that I didn't pay attention to in my initial planning, and I caught it on the second go round. So as these dragons are dropped and they're working on the trash ring around the base, I want to point out a couple of things to you as I zoom back in on this base before I drop another dragon. So if you pay attention to the 2 dragons in the north and the 3 dragons in the east, the far east, they are in areas where there are no ranged weapons, i.e. the archer tower. So this allows the dragons to, the 5 dragons that are on the map right now, to work on these structures on the outsides of the base and in the trash ring and get rid of all these structures. That way we can actually force our dragons to go where we need them to go before we ever draw that clan castle, which I obviously didn't notice in the initial attack. And obviously we only get 1 attack when we do these things, but pay attention to these defenses around the outer perimeter when you're dropping your dragons. Obviously a cannon cannot shoot at a dragon, and a wizard tower itself is too short of range, which is its splash damage range, to actually hinder an air troop until they get right up on those defenses. However, the range from the archer towers is actually what causes hindrance to the dragons and causes them to lose health before they ever actually get into the base. So what I've actually done is allowed the 5 dragons to work on this trash ring and save me a little bit of time, and hopefully help me in the funneling process of getting the dragons to go exactly where I needed them to go. Once I dropped that 6th dragon where the range of the clan castle was, I actually pulled the clan castle dragon out and had to engage him in a different location this time around. He actually went south into the bulk of dragons that I had. The only problem here is that I miscalculated the reach on the dragons and actually getting in on that air sweeper sooner than I wanted to. But if you notice the pathing of the balloons, they went actually into the base this time around in a different pathing. However, the air sweeper hindered them a little bit, and they ended up getting caught up and not completing the path that I wanted them to go in order to get to that 3rd air defense. So at this point it looks a little bit sketchy, and I was a little worried that we weren't going to be able to get in on this air defense and it was actually going to turn into a fail. Yet again, I maintained that Barbarian King until the end to work on that builder's hut over in the corner, and I was really concerned for the dragons at this point, hoping that I could get rid of that air defense. I have 1 dragon break away and take care of that air defense, but we still have point defense and the 2 Teslas down in the south because Heather created a Tesla farm down in the south that I did not anticipate. And this actually changes up the layout a little bit and causes a little bit more issues for air troops down in the south opposed to the previous raid, adding more damage per second and adding more challenges for them to overcome, especially with the bad pathing of the balloons prior in the raid. So now at this point it looks like it's a little bit lost. You could almost think that you're going to lose your dragons and they're not going to be successful. However, that 1 dragon just manages to get in there on that air defense that had taken damage earlier in the raid, probably from the splash damage from the balloons, and takes it out. And at this point, the raid is done. The 2 dragons survive with the assistance of the Barbarian King and finish it up for another 100%. Now, what if you actually do want to bring ground in on this base, or a base like this? Obviously, you want to take care of those builders' huts in the corners using a wizard or 2 on both of those. But you want to come in on the area where you know you can identify the traps. Clearly, in the south, you can identify all the spring traps for the most part, and you can identify that you do not want to send hog riders through this area, so why not bring your golems up through this area? Now, this isn't exactly the most prettiest raid because this base is specifically designed to combat ground attacks. So kind of forcing it here, bringing in the golems to come in the area where there's clear spring trap locations, and we end up drawing a clan castle with our bowlers instead of the golems themselves. And now at this point, wizards are actually working their way into the base but have to backtrack to take care of that dragon. So we end up losing a couple of bowlers. You can easily replace the bowlers with Valkyries. However, the Valkyries at this point are in the north with the Barbarian King taking out structures on that trash ring. So obviously funneling on this base was a little bit of a nightmare on the ground. However, we were able to get rid of a lot of structures throughout the south. That way we can start working our hog riders in and not have to worry about them as much. There was one spring trap in the north where that wizard tower is, but now we're also combating the skeleton traps as well, which are chasing the hog riders, and they are also a very large hindrance to the hog rider as they work. So we've gotten rid of all the structures in the north, all the defensive structures, and we have a couple of hog riders down in the south that have worked their way down on that last mortar. Thankfully, the Valkyries have picked up on that Barbarian King and start working on assisting and taking them out, and we only have like 2 or 3 hog riders left in order to finish this base off. So it could be a possibility that might have been a little bit of luck, but however, we were able to still get it done with this attack. But going in from the south saved us the hog riders for the northern portion of the base, opposed to losing all of them immediately as they path through the south to get to those defenses. As we wrap this one up, special thanks to Clash Tutor yet again, and also I hope you were able to get some ideas from this video on how to plan your bases. Drop some comments below, let me know what you think, and thanks for watching, guys.